right, good morning. Welcome to the PT on Ice Daily Show. My name is Kelly Benfey. I'm a TA within our fitness athlete division. And, just checking this. And it's Friday, so that means it's Fitness Athlete Friday. We're going to be talking about the kipping pull-up, specifically why do we do the kipping pull-up versus performing strict pull-ups. But before we get into that, let me tell you about a couple things coming up on our calendar within our fitness athlete division. So next weekend, the crew will be in Milwaukee, so that's May 22nd for our Fitness Athlete Live course. And then on June 5th, the crew will be in Montana. Later in June 26th, we're going to be in Delaware. And then more towards the end of this year, we're going to be in My Hood, and November 13th, we're going to be in Chicago. So if you're in that area, try to mark it on your calendar, get registered soon. For the full list of our courses, head over to ptonice.com and get registered there. So let's get into our topic for today. Like I mentioned, we're going to be talking about the kipping pull-up. Specifically, why are we performing the kipping movement versus always doing strict? Recently, I was asked this question, essentially. Someone asked, can you explain the benefit of kipping versus strict to me? It seems like there's a higher injury of risk. You're just asking for bad form. I get that if you do it well, it's okay, but I just don't understand why you wouldn't always be training the movement as a strict pull-up, meaning without any momentum, just working on gaining that lat strength from the exercise. And this is such a great question, and we're going to have a conversation surrounding this. I think it's often one of the more common critiques that maybe the CrossFit community gets. I know I'll be the first to admit, before I got into CrossFit, I was also seeing athletes doing kipping pull-ups, like flopping their chin over the bar and down, and wondering what was going on there. And there's a time and a place to perform both strict and kipping, which is what we're going to talk about. So to start, I think it's important to start with the typical CrossFit methodology, as well as us in the fitness athlete division here at ICE. We always recommend that it's necessary to be able to properly perform at least one strict pull-up before incorporating kipping movements into your fitness or workout routine, without having the ability to demonstrate one strict body weight pull-up. Once you add that momentum to get yourself over the bar, maybe a little bit easier, to get the chin over the bar easier, without having the strength to control it on the way back down, yes, that you could be at a higher risk of injury, because that's a lot of force being placed on the shoulder if you're just kind of dropping into the bottom. So that's why we're always recommending that an athlete can demonstrate that strict strength before incorporating the momentum that kipping uses for kipping pull-ups. So just to be clear on that, the ability to utilize kipping does not necessarily make up for lack of strict strength to still get the work done, for example. And so let's get into more of why do we ever choose that movement then? So I think it requires us to take a step back for a second and ask the why behind what we're trying to achieve through exercise. This could be from a broad perspective of what am I generally trying to accomplish when I go to the gym every day over a long period of time, or it could be within the next 15 minutes, the next exercise I'm about to do, what's my purpose for this movement next? And the answer to that could be anything from increasing strength, increasing muscle mass, decreasing body fat, decreasing blood pressure, increasing bone density, increasing insulin sensitivity. There's so many reasons that we're all exercising to stay healthy and fit. And the answer to that could be all of the above. It could be one at a time, for example. And so once you've kind of identified your why or your intent, your purpose, then you can ask or determine, how do we get this done next? And so we'll talk a little bit about the CrossFit style training next. So one of the main focuses of CrossFit style training is the intensity piece. And when you add intensity to workouts, you achieve a larger systemic effect from your exercise. You achieve more favorable exercise adaptations at one time. And basically, you get more results faster when you add that intensity piece. And so the way CrossFit preaches is you need to demonstrate good mechanics, so good form, and then you need to consistently demonstrate those good mechanics, and then at that point is when you can add the intensity piece. And so they also have identified, or they've been able to define the intensity as it's equal to power. And so we can define power, if you go back to those physics classes that we took a long time ago, the equation power equals the amount of work over time. And the amount of work we're doing is defined as the force multiplied by the distance, or how many repetitions we're doing. So for example, with this pull-up, let's say one pull-up, the work you're doing, the force is defined as your body weight because it's a body weight movement. The distance could be the distance that you're traveling from hanging on the bar to bring your chin over the bar and down, also accounting for how many reps you're doing. So if we're doing 15 pull-ups, the work is that amount, 15 pull-ups. And then when you put that work over the amount of time, say it takes you a minute to do that, that's going to yield a certain amount of power or intensity. Say it takes you 20 seconds to do it, a shorter time frame is going to yield a increased power number or larger intensity, for example. And this equation is scalable to achieve the certain level of intensity that you're trying to achieve in the moment. You can modify the resistance on the barbell, for example. You can modify how many reps you're doing to change that work amount to achieve a certain time frame and then still achieve that same power or intensity at the end. And so the use of the kipping pull-up, obviously, it's a lot faster than when we do strict pull-ups. So that is the part that I want you to focus on when we talk about this example next. So the example that I'm using from one of my workouts, one of my training in the past couple years, what I've been training, there's a workout from the CrossFit Open, which is an online competition that is called 19.5. It was from 2019. And the workout was a couplet of thrusters and pull-ups. So the thruster is a barbell front squat to a press, and the pull-ups were chest to bar pull-ups. And the rep scheme goes 33, 27, 21, 15, 9, starting with 33 thrusters, 33 pull-ups, 27 thrusters, 27 pull-ups, and so on. And so it's 105 reps per movement to get done in about 20 minutes or less. That was the time cap. And so in 2019, I was coming off of a shoulder injury, and I couldn't really tolerate that kipping motion at that point. And so I essentially did them all as singles, which obviously made me go a lot slower. It took me about 19 minutes in that year. And then in 2021, as I was training for the upcoming open competition, I retested this workout. And so in 2021, I did kipping pull-ups, kipping chest to bar pull-ups, and it took me about 13 to 14 minutes. So I obviously was able to move a lot faster by utilizing that kipping motion. And let me tell you that the stimulus achieved from both of those workouts was very different. The faster time in 2021 got my heart rate up a lot more. I was out of breath. That was more my limiting factor. And so that I achieved a very different stimulus from kipping during that workout versus when I had to do them all as singles. The limiting factor there was more muscular endurance, for example. So just both were valuable time spent doing exercise, but it just achieved something different, right? And so to conclude in a way, we choose to add that kipping motion into workouts to add intensity, to achieve a more systemic effect from exercise. And there's a time and a place for it. Sometimes we're not able to perform that kipping pull-up because we don't have strict strength to do at least one, or because I was coming off of an injury at that time and it wasn't a good decision for me. And there's also certain times that I can think of where in workouts there are strict pull-ups programs. So not in CrossFit, it's not always kipping all the time. We want the max amount of intensity, for example. So the other day, there was a workout that was 20-minute AMRAP, as many repetitions as possible of 5 strict pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 air squats. And the intention of that was to get your heart rate up a little bit, of course, but work on that muscular fatigue while you're kind of sweating and breathing heavy. And so, like I said, it just takes a little bit of time to back up and ask ourselves, what is the intent of this exercise that I'm about to do? If it's to achieve strength, then kipping's not your answer. It's going to be working on strict strength, strict pull-ups, or your eccentric pull-ups, your banded pull-ups, your ring rows to achieve the ability to do one strict pull-up. But if it's to achieve a healthier lifestyle and decrease your blood pressure and decrease weight and increase muscle mass all at the same time, the ability to add that intensity is only a good thing. I think you're going to get more results quicker and get your heart rate up while you're doing it. And that's what we're often all trying to do at the gym globally from a broader perspective. And at the end of the day, one of the things I always say is I'd rather treat somebody with some shoulder pain from a kipping pull-up than coming back from a heart attack or things of that nature. And so sometimes these things may come up from training volume issues, but but I just got a text. The overall goal of this style of training is to get our heart rate up and keep being healthy, strong, resilient human beings. So I hope you learned a couple things from this conversation. If you want to dive deeper into this conversation, I'm obviously more than willing to talk about this all day. But other than that, have a great weekend. We'll be back with our PT on Ice daily shows starting on Monday. Take care.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.